25% of the points they needed to win. And nothing against Victor. I'm sure he's hurt and everything, but that rule has to change. Obviously, I think it's obvious now.
A few minutes ago, saying that he disagreed with the injury rule that impacted Victor and Harris, and said that it should be changed by the next Ryder Cup. I wanted to get your thoughts, not on how it impacted today, but just on the rule in general.
I think it's been in place since 1971. The US have used it before. I think it's...
The Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black promised to make history, and oh, it did. Just not the kind anyone saw coming. The scoreline, practically forgotten, lost under a storm of whispers and chaos. Captains were firing off shots, fans were left in shock, and the whole event felt like it slipped right off the rails. Something deep inside golf's rulebook cracked wide open, and the fallout's still burning hot. What really went down at Bethpage? Let's break down the madness. This was supposed to be America's grand redemption, with wild crowds ready to roar. Keegan Bradley marched the U.S. team into battle, carrying the full weight of a nation's expectations.
Well, we're playing this amazing, if a person gets hurt on the football field, you don't give him 7 points if Tom Brady gets hurt.
Keegan was in here a few minutes ago saying that he disagreed with the injury rule that impacted Victor and Harris, and said that it should be changed by the next Ryder Cup. I wanted to get your thoughts, not on how it impacted today, but just on the rule in general.
I think it's been in place since 1971. The US have used it before.
But by the time Sunday singles ended, nobody was talking about clutch putts or heroic birdies. The spotlight had been stolen by one explosive twist, buried deep in golf's ancient playbook: the envelope rule. Here's how it all unfolded. Victor Hovland, Europe's deadliest weapon, pulled out with a neck injury. And by Ryder Cup tradition, both captains secretly seal one player's name in an envelope before play begins. The backup, who must sit if the other side loses a man. This time, poor Harris English pulled the short straw.
Ryder Cup captain has a really awkward assignment. He has to choose the player on his team that he trusts.
They're in the States, they're in New York City, what do they expect? They know.
Didn't it cross the line, some of this stuff?
Absolutely not.
Did you give some to Rory?
Every time he stepped on the first.
With Hovland out, English got benched too. And instead of a thrilling showdown, the match was simply ruled a half point each, leaving fans stunned and furious. On paper, the final score, 15-13 in Europe's favor, doesn't scream disaster, but the optics were brutal. Instead of a roaring comeback, fans got red tape, rule books, and pure confusion. Team USA, desperate to swing the momentum back, watched one of their own benched over a dusty technicality, a rule nobody even remembered until it blew up in their face. By the time the closing ceremony rolled around, the air was thicker than New York humidity. Bradley's jaw was locked tight. Donald played it smooth, and the fans, they were already tearing up comment sections, debating if the envelope rule should even exist. That Sunday night didn't feel like a celebration. It felt like the start of a full-blown investigation. Keegan Bradley didn't hold back, not one bit. He didn't sugarcoat the loss or hide behind polite excuses. Just minutes after Europe hoisted the trophy, Bradley sat down in front of the cameras and dropped the line that now defines Bethpage. It has to change, but he wasn't talking about his lineup, his strategy, or even the crowd's pressure. No, he was calling out the envelope rule itself, that dusty bureaucratic trap that turned Harris English into nothing more than collateral damage. Bradley called it what it was: unfair. He made it clear that no golfer should ever be yanked from battle for something totally out of their control. Harris English wasn't hurt. He was fired up and ready to swing. But thanks to golf's dusty, outdated rulebook, he never even got to touch a club on Sunday. The timing made it sting even more. Just minutes after Team USA's loss, Bradley's fiery outburst hit like an open wound on live TV. Pundits sneered and called it sour grapes, while fans called it pure truth. Social media exploded. Bradley's press conference clips went viral, looping non-stop with captions like "he's right" and "excuses, excuses." He didn't drop a full plan, just hinted he had ideas. The details could wait. This wasn't about logistics. It was about pride. Bradley planted his flag in the ground that night. America got robbed, and the rulebook was part of the crime. Since the US took the loss, I gotta know, what's your take? Drop it in the comments, cause this debate is heating up fast. Now let's talk Luke Donald. If Bradley was the fiery spark that lit Bethpage on fire, Donald was the ice bath that cooled it down. Calm, measured, and impossible to rattle. The European captain refused to flinch under Bradley's fury. Donald's response? A straight-up history lesson. He reminded every reporter in the room that the envelope rule isn't some shady European trick. It's been around for decades. Both teams agree to it before a single tee shot flies. Every captain signs off. Every player knows the deal. It's written deep into the Ryder Cup's DNA. And Donald didn't stop there. He subtly threw it back at Bradley, implying that if he hated the rule so much, he should have spoken up months ago, not dropped a fiery rant after losing on home soil. Still, Donald didn't ice out the human side completely. He even showed empathy toward both Harris English and Victor Hovland, saying, "No one wants to see players sidelined." Bradley's comments hit like a punch, but Donald's calm reply landed just as hard in silence. The golf world split in two overnight. One side backed Bradley, calling him brave for challenging tradition. The other called him reckless, accusing him of turning heartbreak into headlines. And while the debate raged online, the PGA's higher-ups stayed eerily quiet, fueling rumors that even they weren't sure where to stand. Fans demanded answers. How could such a dated rule still decide matches in 2025? Commentators called it golf's ghost clause, a relic haunting modern competition. The Ryder Cup wasn't just about birdies and bogeys anymore. It had become a battlefield over principle, pride, and protocol. Behind closed doors, whispers grew louder. Insiders claimed Bradley's speech stirred more than social media. Some said key PGA figures quietly supported him, tired of outdated traditions holding back the sport. Others accused him of embarrassing the organization on its biggest stage. Either way, one thing was clear. The captain's fire had reignited golf's most uncomfortable conversation. Even rival players began chiming in. Rory McIlroy reportedly called the situation unfortunate but fair, while Patrick Reed was spotted liking posts saying Bradley's right. It was chaos disguised as discourse. Suddenly, what started as a single post-match rant had turned into a full-blown identity crisis for golf. Was the sport evolving, or stuck defending its own red tape? By midweek, the headlines were ruthless. Bradley breaks golf's silence. Envelope rule sparks civil war, and PGA in damage control. Talk shows replayed his soundbite on loop, and analysts argued whether this would finally push for reform. The Ryder Cup wasn't just about Europe's win anymore. It was about how one outdated rule could unravel decades of carefully built tradition. Bradley didn't apologize. He doubled down. "If speaking truth makes me the bad guy, so be it," he said. And that line, it went viral overnight. Fans flooded comment sections calling for the rule's removal, while traditionalists clung to their fair play mantra. One thing's for sure, Bethpage Black didn't just host history. It cracked golf's foundation wide open, and everyone could feel the quake. Donald's defense came from pure principle. You can't just rewrite the rules mid-battle because the result hurts. He cautioned against Bradley's call for quick reform, warning that rushing change without real clarity could destroy the very fairness the rule was meant to protect. For Donald, this wasn't just about one measly half point. It was about the integrity of the game itself. This was chess, not checkers. Donald played the captain as statesman role perfectly. Calm, measured, and untouchable. While Bradley's fire burned hot, Donald's cool composure made him look like the adult in the room. And in a tournament where optics matter as much as scorecards, that mattered big time. By the end of the press tour, Donald wasn't just the winning captain. He was the guardian of golf's fragile old order. As if the captain's drama wasn't wild enough, the crowd at Bethpage decided to steal the villain role for themselves. Luke Donald wasn't just facing off with Keegan Bradley. He had to take on the very fans who were supposed to make the Ryder Cup electric. And his verdict? They crossed the line. This wasn't your usual polite golf clapping gone wild. It turned ugly fast. Donald described jeers timed to players' swings, heckling aimed at European families, and even one shocking moment where Rory McIlroy's wife was reportedly hit by a flying beer can. The chaos was so bad, it made sportsmanship feel like a forgotten word. And that silence from Bradley? It only made Donald's voice echo louder. Suddenly the optics flipped. Europe looked calm, disciplined, and united, while Team USA came off chaotic and out of control. What was meant to be Bethpage pride turned into straight-up Bethpage shame. Donald seized that chaos like a pro, transforming himself from just a captain into the guardian of golf's soul. So here's the real question. Who came out looking stronger? Bradley with his fire, or Donald with that icy calm? In the days that followed, golf media couldn't stop spinning. Talk shows, podcasts, and columnists all jumped in, dissecting every glance, every quote, every glare from Bethpage. Some painted Bradley as the rebel golf needed, a man willing to torch tradition to expose what's broken. Others praised Donald as the voice of reason, the man who kept golf classy while the storm raged around him. But beneath the noise, something bigger was shifting. Younger fans started siding with Bradley, demanding modern rules and transparency. Old-school purists stood behind Donald, insisting that golf's soul is its tradition. The Ryder Cup suddenly wasn't just about continents. It was about generations clashing for control of the sport's future. By week's end, it was clear. Bethpage hadn't just hosted a tournament. It had exposed a divide that golf can't ignore anymore. Every major headline screamed about reform, respect, and rivalry. Pundits compared the envelope rule to a relic from the Stone Age, while others warned that too much change could destroy golf's sacred balance. And in the middle of it all, Bradley and Donald became symbols of two worlds colliding. Emotion versus order, rebellion versus restraint. The Ryder Cup didn't just end with Europe's victory. It ended with a question that still echoes across fairways worldwide. Can golf evolve without tearing apart the very traditions that built it? When the press room finally went quiet, The pundits swooped in like vultures over fresh drama. And just like that, the split-screen narrative took over. Was Keegan Bradley the bold truth-teller or just a sore loser? Golf Channel and Sky Sports ran hours of debates, breaking down every word, every look, every ounce of his frustration. Some voices praised him for daring to challenge a relic rule that's gone unchecked for decades. Others called him petty, reminding everyone that the envelope rule had also helped Team USA in past Ryder Cups. Meanwhile, Donald's icy composure and diplomatic defense scored him major points in the court of public opinion. One man fought with passion, the other with poise, and the world couldn't decide who came out cleaner in the chaos. Analysts praised Donald's unshakable calm under pressure, painting him as a captain with true gravitas. A man who didn't just lead, he controlled the chaos. Meanwhile, Bradley got labeled as emotional and raw, words that sound flattering until you realize they really mean not in control. But social media saw it differently. Bradley's fiery "it has to change" rant exploded across TikTok and Instagram Reels, racking up millions of views overnight. Fans split right down the middle. Was he fighting for fairness, or just venting in defeat? Donald's clips, calm and calculated, didn't trend nearly as hard, but behind the scenes, insiders and journalists respected his composure. By midweek, the entire saga was being framed like a courtroom showdown. Passion versus poise, rebellion versus restraint, and golf caught in the crossfire. Tradition versus reform, emotion versus logic, optics versus outcome. That was the battleground now. And in that clash, Donald walked away as the calm commander, while Bradley looked like a man raging against the sky. The debate wasn't about who lifted the trophy anymore, it was about who owned the story. The Ryder Cup may be over, but the shockwaves are only just starting. Bradley's three-word bombshell, "it has to change," set golf's rulebook on fire. Now the once-forgotten envelope rule is under a full-scale investigation. Committees from the PGA, DP World Tour, and Ryder Cup Europe are scrambling under public pressure to act. Rumors of reform are already flying, from allowing captains to name alternates, to giving full points instead of halves, or maybe even scrapping the envelope altogether. Change isn't coming quietly, it's coming swinging. Each proposed fix comes with its own storm of problems. Questions about roster depth, fairness, and whether adding alternates would strip the Ryder Cup of its signature drama. But one thing's for sure, Bradley dragged this issue out of the shadows and into the spotlight. And there's no shoving it back before 2027 at Adair Manor. Donald, on the other hand, walked out of Bethpage stronger than ever. He didn't just win on hostile soil, he stayed cool through a scandal that could have wrecked any other captain's image. If Bradley ends up being the face of change, then Donald stands tall as the face of tradition. Two captains, two legacies, forever tied together by one forgotten piece of paper sealed inside an envelope that changed golf forever. Bethpage 2025 won't be remembered for Europe's 15-13 victory. It'll be remembered as the cup hijacked by paperwork. The tournament where golf's most polite tradition exploded into pure controversy. Whether Bradley ends up a hero or a hothead, one thing's certain, this saga guarantees the next Ryder Cup will be decided not just by putts and pressure, but by policy. Bethpage might be done, but this fight is far from over. So tell me, will the envelope rule survive until 2027, or will Bradley's fiery rant finally force change? Drop your prediction in the comments, hit that like button, share this with your golf crew, and make sure to subscribe to Golf Swing, because this story's just heating up, and trust me, you won't want to miss the next one.